suspension of British Airways, Virgin Atlantic over breach of agreement. US police investigate Bonny man death during heavy rain. Iran's ambassador to Saudi Arabia depart for Riyadh. North Korea stages tactical nuclear attack drill in warning to enemies. Foremost human rights lawyer Femi Falana has called for the suspension of British Airways and Virgin Atlantic from operating in Nigeria over breach of the nation's bilateral air service agreement. Mr. Falana said the suspension should not be lifted until Nigerian indigenous airline Airpeace is allowed to operate the Lagos-London routes. According to Falana, ambassador allows for reciprocity of flight operations on the route by designated airlines in line with the agreement signed by both countries. According to him, it is out of place and unfair for British Airways and Virgin Atlantic to be allowed to continue flying into Nigeria without any Nigerian airline flying to London in return. He observed that Airpeace has proven it has the capacity to operate on international routes, adding that the airline currently flies to China, Israel, India, and South Africa, among others, using modern aircraft comparable to those of its foreign competitors. British Airways and Virgin Atlantic Airways both have about 21 weekly frequencies to Nigeria. Airpeace, on the other hand, had applied to fly the Lagos-London route, but the UK Civil Aviation Authority had yet to grant it approval to commence operations. An investigation has been launched into the death of a person during torrential rain at the Burning Man Festival in the US state of Nevada. No further details have been given about the circumstances of their death. Reports, however, indicate that thousands of people remain stranded at the event after the bad weather turned the ground to deep, slippery mud, while roads in and out are closed as vehicles can barely drive on it. Burning Man is reported held in the Black Rock Desert, which is usually dry and dusty. In a statement, the Pershing County Sheriff's Office said it is currently investigating a death which occurred during the rain event, adding that the person's family had been notified. The heavy rain has made it difficult for people to leave by vehicle, and the Sheriff's Office said attempt to do this had made the muddy ground even worse. Dozens of people have been injured, including some from live gunfire during clashes between Eritrean asylum seekers and Israeli police in Tel Aviv. Information has it that stone grenades, tear gas, and sponge-tipped bullets were used against hundreds of protesters. The unrest was sparked after activists opposed to the Eritrean government asked Israeli authorities to cancel an embassy event, but protesters also clashed with supporters of the Eritrean regime. Meanwhile, an investigation has been opened into whether the use of live fire was within the law, with evidence being gathered at the scene. The divisions within Eritrea over the rule of President Isaias Afwerki have spilled over into the diaspora, and this is the latest outbreak of violence in recent weeks. Cyprus police have arrested 13 people after a march against migrants and refugees on the island's second largest city, Limassol, turned violent, with mobs vandalizing property. The police says 5 people were injured during the unrest after about 500 people took to the streets for the march, and that rubbish bins were set alight and some shops were vandalized. Witnesses were quoted as saying some foreigners were attacked during the march, and that police used water cannon to disperse the protesters, some of them hooded and holding a banner that read "Refugees Not Welcome." This is the World at Noon, coming to you from Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, Voice of the West, Nigeria. Now, amid this message. Neither gold nor diamond can be polished without friction. No man can be perfect without trials. Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says its ambassadors to Saudi Arabia will soon depart for Riyadh to lead its diplomatic mission that was reopened in early June after 7 years. According to ministry, Iran's new envoy to the kingdom, Alizia Nayati, yesterday met Foreign Minister Hussein Abdulmudallib and presented his final report before leaving for Riyadh. Speaking of breaking a 7-year diplomatic rift, Iran officially reopened its embassy in Riyadh in June, followed by its consulate in Jeddah and its representative office with the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The two countries had severed diplomatic relations in 2016 after demonstrators stormed Saudi missions in Iran following the Sunni majority kingdom's execution of a prominent Shia religious leader. But they agreed to restore relations in a deal signed in Beijing in March that was brokered by China following 5 rounds of trade talks hosted by Iraq and mediation and assistance from Oman. North Korea says it has conducted a simulated tactical nuclear attack drill with 2 long-range missiles equipped with mock atomic warheads. Report today indicates that the drill was carried out to warn enemies that the country will be prepared in case of nuclear war and pledged again to bolster military deterrence against South Korea and the United States. It was learned that the 2 cruise missiles carrying mock nuclear warheads were fired towards the West Sea of the peninsula and flew 1,500 kilometers at a present altitude of 150 meters. The launches were the latest in the series of missile tests in military exercise conducted by North Korea in recent weeks, including a failed spy satellite launch late last month. Ukraine has alleged that Russia carried out a drone attack on the Odessa region, targeting a Tumbe River port infrastructure and injuring at least 2 people. Reports say traffic on the main bridge linking the Russian mainland to the Russia-annexed Crimea resumed after being temporarily suspended early in the day. Ukrainian President Mr. Vladimir Zelensky says 2 more ships passed through a temporary Black Sea corridor established after Russia withdrew from a UN-backed grain export deal. And here again are the highlights of the world at noon. Former human rights lawyer Femi Falana has called for the suspension of British Airways and Virgin Atlantic from operating in Nigeria over breach of the nation's bilateral air service agreement. Has been launched into the death of a person ensuring to ensure rain at the Burning Man Festival in the US state of Nevada. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced its ambassador to Saudi Arabia will soon depart for Riyadh to lead ITT's diplomatic mission that was reopened in early June after 7 years. Iran has claimed it has conducted a simulated tactical nuclear attack drill with 2 long-range missiles equipped with mock atomic warheads. That was the world at noon, edited by Latif Agola and delivered by Onishola Ekodofo. For more about us, you can visit www.osbcng.org. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.